Hello there, everyone. Roger Connect, President of Universal Accounting Center. I'm excited to actually have with us today Dave. And Dave Foth happens to be the owner and the principal individual with Profitwise Bookkeeping and Tax Services. And what's exciting is Dave happens to be not just the owner, but also the graduate of Universal Accounting Center. We had the fortunate opportunity of meeting once again at the IPBC conference just this last month. And what was nice is to kind of reconnect. And more importantly, Dave, you shared with me some of your story, and I'm excited to have you share a little bit of that here today with everyone else.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and start. I think where I like to begin is just kind of your background and maybe a little bit of your story of how you became acquainted with Universal, and more importantly, just what led you to starting your business.
Well, I was a little older when I got to this point in my life and pursuing a different career. I had just completed a 28-year term of being an elementary school teacher. And out of those 28 years, 20 of them were also spent farming in a smaller way. We lived in rural Saskatchewan. And so after I retired, I thought I'll just be a truck driver because I had my licensing for that. After doing that for 1 month, I said, no, this is not the life for me. And so I kind of wondered, what do I do now? And as it turned out, Universal Accounting did they were advertising in the Saskatoon area that Scott was going to be doing a presentation here on behalf of Universal Accounting Center. And so I booked into that and I went and listened to his presentation. And I had been thinking a little bit about bookkeeping. That's why when I saw it advertised, that's why I decided to go. And after his presentation, I talked to him and I decided that Universal Accounting looked like a great option for me for training. It was online. I could do all the work from home. And so I enrolled and I took the course, took the training, and really liked the training that I was receiving. Just the fact that it was in a classroom setting, although I wasn't part of it, but I could observe. And I think it was Al was the instructor. He was very, very thorough. And so and then I also took the QuickBooks training that you offered as well, and started my own business probably about 4 or 5 months after that. And so that's kind of how I got connected with Universal Accounting Center.
Well, thank you. And you know, what I love about your story is so many of the individuals that I work with, like you, actually had previous careers or maybe had other roles. And eventually, is one life circumstance after another led them to looking at and considering and seriously moving forward with having started their own bookkeeping, accounting, or tax practice. So I think a lot of people actually do relate to your experience where this is kind of like their second career, perhaps. And so this is something that I think we can definitely identify with. What I love also about your story is, yes, we used to do many seminars around the United States, Canada, did them in Australia. And as we were traveling and doing all of these, it was just wonderful to meet with individuals that were at various stages of starting or building their practices. And in your case, this was just kind of the stepping stone for you to get going. So that was wonderful. Let me ask you this question. You obviously do bookkeeping and tax services. Tell us a little bit more about the services you actually offer your clients.
Well, what I do is I guess I have clients where I do absolutely everything for. I have a few charities that I'm bookkeeping for. One of which I do absolutely everything. I write all the checks. Everything, all the donations, all the payments come through me. I do all the bank deposits. I file. On behalf of our organization, I file with Revenue Canada the forms that need to go in there, and keep everything going from a financial and from a financial perspective. And then I have smaller incorporated businesses that I do bookkeeping for on a regular basis. And then I also, during tax season, I I've taken training from Knowledge Bureau in Winnipeg, and I would certainly recommend them highly as well in taking tax courses. And every spring it gets busy with tax preparation now too, for lots of personal tax, but also I do for sole proprietors. I'm not doing corporate tax at this point yet.
Yeah. Now, with regards to these services, one of the things that I think we want to just kind of get your opinion on is if you had advice for someone who is in the process of starting their bookkeeping business, much like you did, what advice would you have for them?
Well, get some training by all means. That to me is I think essential. I had done my own bookkeeping when I farmed, but again, I was running or handling two careers, farming as well as full-time teaching, and so I was always at a point where it was just an extra thing to do, and I had to sometimes play catch up at year end, but I always got things into my accountant on time and got my taxes filed on time. But I had some experience with bookkeeping. I liked it, but I didn't know all the ins and outs of it. I just used a very basic Excel spreadsheet. But once you start working with businesses, then you need to know your QuickBooks or Sage or whatever it is you want to, whatever software you want to use. And so that helped as well with universal accounting, taking the QuickBooks training. And so just preparing you for what really happens in bookkeeping. I really didn't have any concept of the double entry bookkeeping, and universal accounting really goes through that thoroughly. So I came out of it with a much better grasp of how bookkeeping works, although I still had lots to learn, and I'm still learning lots.
Well, one of the things that I think you would agree to, and this is something that I feel you were saying, is it really comes down to two things: confidence and competence. And what you were able to do is with the training and certification is both have the confidence, what it is you were doing. You were able to look the business owner in the eye and say, I can do your books, but at the same time, the competence to literally go through it with some proficiency to get it done and done correctly. So that's very good. So what advice would you have for someone now that's up and running and they've got a business? You're talking to a peer, let's say, someone who also has a practice like your own. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in maybe expanding their business or growing their company?
Well, I think, certainly, one of the things that Al was talked about quite a bit in the training was that if you just focus on bookkeeping as a service, you may limit yourself a bit, but to get some extra specialization, let's say in taxes or some other aspect that you can add to the bookkeeping, certainly increases the opportunity to expand. And I guess marketing is the big thing that I've struggled with somewhat as well. You can't get there overnight with when you're trying to get more clients. It takes time, and so I know Universal offers some help with and coaching and counseling when it comes to marketing yourself. Maybe getting involved with something like that might be helpful. But yeah, I think just when it comes to growing your business, it does take time, and I think just to work hard at what you're doing, advertise locally as much as you can, although it's costly, but word of mouth and meeting people. I'm part of networking groups, Saskatoon North Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce are organizations I've joined, and developing relationships with people there, that has helped as well.
Very good. No, that is wonderful, because two things that I think you touched on are very important. Yes, one of the things that we find is as we're working with people who are either starting or building their practice is first and foremost, get very specific and clear on the services you're providing. But then secondly, consider what else complements what you're doing. So you can grow the business vertically, but then using the principle found in the book In the Black, you can grow it geometrically. And that's where you start to offer additional services such as your growth from bookkeeping services to tax services, or maybe it's from bookkeeping into payroll, or maybe it's from bookkeeping into offering consultative services. There's just a nice transition and evolution that's there. And then obviously with the marketing that you were talking about, one of the principles that we always teach is nothing happens until you make a sale. And there's a quote that I quite often use. It's from Brett Lechtenberg that says, you ultimately get paid for your marketing, meaning it's not so much what you do, it's how well you market yourself as to whether or not you have clients. So well said. I love what you were sharing there, and definitely the coaching that we provide all of our students, literally having assigned to you for the next 12, 18, 24 months, a specific coach to help you implement strategies that are tried and proven, but also ones that they themselves use in their own firms is quite important. So let's talk about the next thing that I think is helpful. What changes do you foresee on the horizon within the accounting and bookkeeping world? You were there at the IPBC conference. I think this is something that everyone has an opinion on. I'm just kind of curious, what changes do you see on the horizon that are catching your attention?
Well, certainly, I think the fact that things seem to be moving quite quickly, more and more onto the cloud, instead of sitting here looking at your computer that has QuickBooks desktop on it. There's limitations with that, and I mean, as an older person, I guess I really was a little afraid of all the technology and all of the new stuff that was happening with the technology. But I've decided to embrace it as much as I can because I think that's the direction it's going. And so I'm using QuickBooks Online. I'm using HubDoc and some of the other apps already, and certainly haven't really learned to use them fully yet. But I'm willing to learn, and I feel I need to because that's the direction things are going. I just took on a new client fairly recently, and they don't want to worry with paper, deal with paper. They want everything to be online, stored in the cloud, and so that seems to be where, especially the younger crowd is going. They love the fact that you don't have to have a filing cabinet and put all your papers and organize it that way. So that's something that I'm learning, and I think that's the direction things are going.
Very good. I couldn't agree with you more. There's definitely a change towards the technology. There are a variety of plugins and so forth that are very complementary to the various software programs that are out there, whether you're QuickBooks, Sage, Zero User, and such. So definitely take advantage of those tools and resources that really, in the end, make our jobs easier so that we can do more of the consultative and advisory type work that I think a lot of people enjoy, which is basically helping the client understand and better use the information that's being generated from the financials. So well said. The last thing I'd just like to share, being a graduate of Universal Accounting and seeing how it obviously helped you start your business, is what advice would you give to someone who's considering perhaps some of the programs that Universal offers, or basically taking that leap forward and starting or building their practice?
Well, I guess it depends on where you are and where you're at in life. If you're somebody that has been in another career and you're a little older and you don't want to go back to school in a formal way, and join or attend university or possibly some technical institute, this Universal Accounting is great, as is Knowledge Bureau, and there are others out there too, I'm sure. But the fact that you can take them at home online, and you can do all your testing and everything, I found that was the thing that was most attractive to me, because I didn't really want to go anywhere. Not only that, but sometimes in the community that you live, especially here in Saskatchewan, where you've got a lot of remote communities, you can't take a course in your community or the training that you would like. So the online is just fantastic for that. And so that's what I would say is explore what's out there, because you don't have to go anywhere if you don't want to. And there's good training opportunities out there, just by looking for them and participating in them.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of people say the same things, and happy you were able to make the most of it. So, with that in mind, I appreciate you, Dave, for sharing your story. It was phenomenal running into you there at the IPVC conference and kind of catching up. Most importantly, just hearing your story. I love what you had to share because not only do I think it's something everyone can relate to, but more importantly, you've achieved so much, and I congratulate you on the successes you've had, especially on this second career of yours. And most importantly, thank you for your time. I know that this is something that was kind of a one-off, so I appreciate you setting aside some time to speak today. But for everyone out there, just understand this. If it's about accounting, it is universal, and business success is universal. We're here to help you actually start and build to have the premier accounting, bookkeeping, or tax service in your area. And that's exactly what we do, providing you the programs, training, and most importantly, the coaching and support that you need to do so. So keep that in mind. So Dave, thank you for your time today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And everybody else, have a wonderful day as well. Thanks.
Thank you.